What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 18:39 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and from the Middle East and from here in the US. So earlier this morning, the long awaited meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov occurred. We also had the U.S. National Security Advisor present and the Special Representative Steve Witkoff. So on the left, you can see here Steve Witkoff, Marco Rubio, and the National Security Advisor. And then on the right, you can see Sergei Lavrov. This is the first time that a Russian foreign minister has met an American Secretary of State since before the war started in Ukraine nearly 3 years ago. So this is definitely a historic moment, but the diplomatic crap show continues with the Trump administration and Europe and the peace negotiations. I want to update you guys on that. But before I get into that, I want to update you on some other things first. So Europe is expected to send up to 30,000 troops to Ukraine. Apparently, they're not going to be deployed on the front lines, but will serve as a show of strength in case Russia starts the war again. And this was reported by the Washington Post, citing 4 sources. Okay, so Europe is considering sending 30,000 troops to Ukraine. That is absolutely huge news. Also, less than 24 hours after this morning's negotiations between U.S. and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia, Russia tonight launched one of its largest drone attacks in recent months against Odessa and other cities across Ukraine, with over 150 Iranian drones targeting energy infrastructure and other sensitive Ukrainian sites. Okay, so Russia is just mocking the U.S., disrespecting the U.S. The U.S. is bending over backwards to please Russia, and they even asked Lavrov to stop striking Ukraine's energy. And what do? They launched drones at energy infrastructure in Odessa just several hours after this meeting. Okay, so Russia is not afraid of the U.S. They are mocking the U.S. Okay, huge show of disrespect to the U.S. by launching these drones. 150 drones, guys. Okay, largest drone attack in months, just hours after Rubio and Lavrov met. And they specifically asked Lavrov to stop attacking Ukraine's energy and civilian infrastructure. And here we have this bizarre video showing Marco Rubio talking about how the U.S. can partner with Russia. This is totally insane. Listen.
But ultimately, the Russian side will be indispensable to this effort, and so that process will begin. And then the third is, together with those other two, is beginning to engage in identifying the extraordinary opportunities that exist should this conflict come to a acceptable end, the credible opportunities that exist to partner with the Russians geopolitically on issues of common interest, and frankly economically on issues that hopefully will be good for the world and will also improve our relations in the long term between these two important countries.
Partner with Russia geopolitically and economically. That is just totally insane. Okay, Russia is funding Iran. They've actually said that they're going to help Iran's nuclear program. Okay, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman for the Kremlin, just said today, okay, after these meetings, that Iran is going to be assisted by Russia with their nuclear program. Russia is going to help Iran's nuclear program. They openly stated that. And we're going to partner with Russia and have, economic ties with them. I mean, this is just totally insane. And then literally just hours after this meeting with Russia, Russia is now attacking Ukraine tonight. You can see much of Ukraine under an air raid alert. And I wanted to update you guys quickly on the B-52s from Sunday night when we were listening to them in the live stream when they said they were going weapons status red. Well, it now turns out that there was some kind of big exercise, a live fire exercise conducted by Central Command with B-52s and up to 9 different partner countries, and they flew around different areas of the Middle East and actually dropped live munitions in multiple test ranges across the Middle East. And we were tracking them when they were flying over Jordan and Iraq, and we heard them say weapons status red. What's interesting is Egypt did not allow the B-52s to cross over their airspace. Okay, they initially closed their airspace, and it took about 30 minutes to an hour for the B-52s to get clearance from Egypt to fly over. Okay, but there were 2 B-52s that took off from RAF Fairford. They were accompanied by 4 KC-135 aerial refuelers, and based on this picture, it looks like they were escorted by U.S. and European fighter jets. So this is clearly a sign that the U.S. is preparing to strike targets in the Middle East. This was definitely a show of force to Iran, to other players in the Middle East. Okay, a massive live fire exercise with B-52s. They dropped live munitions, and we were listening to this go down live Sunday night in the stream, and I have a recording of when the B-52 pilot said weapons status red, which means the weapons were fully armed, and this was right before they got clearance to fly over Egypt. They were refueled just south of Crete, and then they said weapons status red while they were waiting for Egypt to give them the green light to fly over their airspace.
Bound from Grim 118 firm. Weapons status red. Firm. Weapons status red.
Weapons status red. And here you can listen to them saying something about a makeup capability for package player. This is interesting.
Grim 1-1. Do you have any makeup capability for package players? Over.
So Wolfhound was a ground station. Grim 1-1 was one of the bombers, the same bomber that said weapons status red, and so the ground station is asking if he had makeup capability for package player. If anybody knows what that could mean, put it in the comments down below, especially if you have experience in the Air Force.
Grim 1-1. Do you have any makeup capability for package players? Over.
So just wanted to update you guys on that, and here you can see the aerial refuelers after they refueled the B-52s just south of Crete. They went back up to the UK, so this was clearly some type of a bombing exercise aimed at scaring Iran. Okay, dropping live munitions, guys. Okay, live munitions in multiple test ranges. Looks like in Jordan, in Iraq, probably in Saudi Arabia as well. But you can see the B-52 flew through Jordan, then it flew through Iraq, then it went into the Persian Gulf, and then it disappeared from the transponder. And according to the Russian state media service TASS, during this morning's summit in Saudi Arabia, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio attempted to get the Russian delegation to sign a memorandum to forbid further strikes against Ukrainian energy infrastructure, with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov refusing, claiming that Russia has never targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Okay, so Russia refusing to sign a memorandum on stopping their strikes on Ukraine's energy. And then what do? Just hours after, they attack Odessa with 150 drones. Okay, so Russia is laughing at us. Okay, they're laughing at the Trump administration. Putin is laughing at the Trump administration. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. This is the one area where I disagree with the Trump administration is the way that they're handling this. Otherwise, I agree with everything that Trump's done so far. But I think in this situation, they're making a big mistake in the way that they're handling Putin. They're basically bending over backwards to please him. And that's not going to work with someone like Putin, okay? So I want to just read to you what Lavrov said after the meeting. He said, "We explained to our American counterparts that the presence of NATO troops in Ukraine is unacceptable." Okay, so Russia is saying they don't want any NATO troops in Ukraine or any European troops as well, because if you remember, I think it was Hegseth or J.D. Vance, one of those, when they came to Europe for the Munich Security Conference, they said that European troops could be used in Ukraine, but not under the flag of NATO. That basically these would be like, you know, outside of NATO, but they would still be European troops, which makes no sense. But basically, Russia has now rejected that idea. They don't care if they're NATO troops, if they're not NATO troops. They don't want any Western troops in Ukraine, okay? He said, "The appearance of troops from the same NATO countries but under a foreign flag, the flag of the European Union or a national flag, is unacceptable." Okay, so they basically flat out rejected what I think it was Hegseth, what he said, that European troops would go to Ukraine, but they wouldn't be under the flag of NATO. They would be under their own national flag or under the European Union flag. Okay, so Russia wants zero troops there. That means no peacekeeping forces. Okay, you know why they don't want peacekeeping forces there? Because they intend to violate the peace treaty. Okay, and he also said, in parallel, "We will create conditions for our cooperation to resume in full and expand to a wide variety of areas. In order to prevent the torpedoing of Russian-American relations, we need to improve them, which is what we have been doing. NATO expansion is a direct threat to Russia's interests." He also said Zelensky needs to be brought to his senses. He also said that Russia sensed the U.S.'s complete determination to move forward. He also said that the U.S. proposed a moratorium on attacks on energy facilities, and he responded back and said that Russia does not attack civilian targets. Obviously, pure bullshit, okay? So this is getting really, really crazy, these talks, these diplomatic talks. In my opinion, it's a disaster. And the Russian Foreign Ministry said that if Europe wants to help bring peace to Ukraine, it must stop delivering weapons to Kiev. And the Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia said Russia is categorically negative about the prospect of European troops appearing in Ukraine, no matter what role they play there. This is a step towards escalating tensions. So Russia is doubling down on their demands. Okay, they have not met the U.S. in the middle. They're basically doubling down on what they said before they invaded Ukraine. Okay, they're not compromising on anything. They don't even want to stop attacking Ukraine during the peace process. And if the Trump administration still tries to push forward with a peace deal, I mean, this is something that the Biden administration would do. Okay, the Trump administration is sounding more like the Biden administration now, basically bending over for Putin, rather than being tough on him. This is very concerning. And the Secretary General of NATO said Europe is ready to take the lead in providing security guarantees to Ukraine. So Europe is now panicking and looks like they're going to take matters into their own hands. Like I said, Europe is planning to send 30,000 troops to Ukraine, and if they do, that would guarantee World War III. And the White House said today that President Trump made a very innovative proposal on the conflict in Ukraine, so we'll have to wait and see what that proposal is. We do know that Ukraine has rejected the minerals for weapons deal because apparently some of the fine print in there was not favorable for Ukraine. They wanted control over Ukraine's oil and gas infrastructure, and I guess Ukraine didn't want to do that. They didn't want to sign over their energy to the U.S. And Trump said today that the Russians did not want to destroy Kiev, and if they wanted to, they would have done so. He also said thousands of soldiers were killed in Ukraine, including North Koreans. He also said Russia wants to end the brutality in Ukraine. I don't believe that. And Trump says he is much more confident about Russia talks after the meeting in Saudi Arabia. This is crazy, guys. I can't even believe it. Look, guys, I'm not saying that we should, go to war with Russia over Ukraine or we should give them free weapons forever. That's not what I'm saying. But when it comes to peace negotiations, you should always start with the bar high. That's actually what Trump said in his own book, The Art of the Deal. He said that when you're negotiating, you should always set the bar as high as possible. I mean, it's common sense. Okay, it's not about giving weapons to Ukraine forever for free. Okay, it's about having a fair deal for everybody. Okay, not Russia gets everything and we get screwed over and Ukraine gets screwed over. And Zelensky said he decided to postpone his visit to Saudi Arabia planned for Wednesday after the U.S.-Russia summit in Saudi Arabia. Zelensky said he didn't want to create a false impression of negotiations by visiting Saudi Arabia tomorrow. So, wow, Zelensky canceling his trip. Absolutely insane. And Zelensky said he spoke by phone with the French President Emmanuel Macron about security guarantees and lasting peace. Zelensky met with Erdogan of Turkey today, and they talked about the peace deal and other things. The Turkish president reaffirmed his support for Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Ukraine. He said, "We're ready to provide any support to end this war in a peaceful way. This war, which has cost many lives, must end. We're ready to do our part for maritime security in the Black Sea." He emphasized the success of the Black Sea grain deal. "We've always advocated for the establishment of peace negotiated between Russia and Ukraine. Thanks to our diplomatic correspondences between the parties, we realized the Black Sea grain deal." So Turkey also offered to host peace talks in Ankara. And the Turkish foreign minister met with the Ukrainian defense minister as well. So they're probably going to work out some kind of weapons purchases from Turkey. And the U.S. National Security Advisor said today that Europe must contribute more to NATO. France is going to convene another emergency meeting tomorrow with other European countries about the situation in Ukraine and Europe as a whole. It's going to include Norway, Canada, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Czech Republic, Greece, Finland, Romania, Sweden, and Belgium. Okay, so they had an emergency meeting yesterday. They're going to have another one tomorrow. So Europe is panicking, and apparently Denmark is going to now unveil a new plan for its military due to the growing threat posed by Russia. This was announced by Prime Minister Frederiksen. Okay, they're going to unveil this plan tomorrow. So Europe is preparing for an invasion. Okay, Russia is planning to invade Europe. Okay, there's credible intelligence now, and obviously Europe is panicking because they have that intelligence. Okay, we know that Russia is going to be sending 100 to 150,000 troops into Belarus, and they're going to be stacked up on the border of Lithuania and Poland and Latvia. okay, supposedly for exercises. This is the same thing they did before they invaded Ukraine, so it's possible that even this year Russia could invade the Baltics and possibly Poland as well, so a very serious situation. And we're now hearing that the EU may provide Ukraine with a $700 billion aid package, okay, or 700 billion euros. The European Union is preparing a massive aid package to fund military equipment for Ukraine. This was revealed by the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. Okay, 700 billion euros. That is absolutely insane. Okay, just to put that into perspective, I think so far Europe has only given Ukraine like 100 billion euros. So this would be like 7 times what they've given Ukraine over the last 3 years. Okay, so they're going to arm Ukraine to the teeth now. And Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, said today that Moscow is ready to help Tehran solve problems related to its nuclear program. And there's a disturbing return to Cold War communications architecture signals in Russia's Baltic fleet. Apparently, they've revived legacy C3 links, that's command and communications and control, and high levels of warship C3 activity indicate Russia is almost certainly preparing for conflict in the Baltic Sea. So Russia is reviving these old school backup communications links in the Baltic fleet, okay, which means they're preparing for war. And multiple social media reports indicated that drones attacked Russia's Khmeimim airbase in Syria yesterday near the city of Jabli in northwestern Syria. So that's very interesting. Maybe the Ukrainians did that. And the Financial Times reported yesterday that Trump may remove U.S. forces from the Baltics and other places in Eastern Europe as part of negotiations with Putin. And earlier this evening, we had this Sky Chief message, which I've never heard before. This could be related to the ICBM test that's going on tonight. There's going to be a Minuteman III test tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how many test warheads the Minuteman has on it, because under the START treaty that Obama signed with Putin, we're only supposed to have 1 warhead per Minuteman. But Putin pulled out of the START treaty, so if we have more warheads on the Minuteman, then it's a sign that the U.S. is rearming. But let me just play this for you. This is very, very serious, guys. It could be related to the test. It could be related to something else. But this is a Sky Chief message. There's something called a Sky King message or Sky Master, and those are the highest priority messages transmitted by our U.S. nuclear forces. And this is something new I've never heard before.
Saturday, this is Sky Chief.
So, Sky Chief was calling Stargate. That's pretty interesting.
Saturday, this is Sky Chief. Message of 3 groups follows. Uniform, Quebec, Juliet. Bravo, Quebec, Victor. Tango, Kilo, Charlie. I say again, message of 3 groups follows. Uniform, Quebec, Juliet. Bravo, Quebec, Victor. Tango, Kilo, Charlie. Time, 2304. Authentication, Delta, Uniform. This is Sky Chief out.
So 1 message of 3 groups, that's the same format that Sky King messages and Sky Master messages use. And this one was Sky Chief, so it's possible that they invented that call sign just for this test, and they basically used the same protocol that a Sky King would use to launch missiles, okay? And right now we have a Cobra ball airborne over North Dakota. This plane can track the trajectory of missiles, so obviously they're using this to track the trajectory of the test Minuteman. And then here you can see 2 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air over the eastern U.S., definitely related to this test. The test is going to start from 11 p.m. Pacific until 5 a.m. Pacific, so that's going to be really late at night here in the eastern U.S. I will be live to cover this test, so if you want to tune in, you can listen to our nuclear forces launch this missile, which sounds to me like the Trump administration is trying to make a statement to Putin. Okay, we'll have to wait and see. And then here we have video footage of a NATO fighter jet intercepting a Russian reconnaissance plane in the Baltic Sea. This is an Ilyushin 20. Okay, so the Russians are doing reconnaissance in the Baltic Sea. They're reviving their old Cold War backup communications systems. This is a bad sign, guys, very bad sign. And also there was a fire last night in Pennsylvania at a facility that makes fasteners for the aerospace industry. And what's interesting is that these fasteners are used on rockets and missiles. These are special fasteners that blow apart to separate the different rocket stages. Okay, ICBM has 3 stages. They have 3 boosters, and they have to separate. And so they have these special fasteners that have explosive material inside, and they blow up, and that separates the boosters. So this could have been a massive sleeper agent attack on the U.S., okay? And this is the name of the company here, SPS Technologies. And if you go to their website, it says they're a global supplier of the most comprehensive line of aerospace fasteners and precision components. Okay, so very, very unusual. We've also been seeing a lot of these planes crashing in recent weeks, so I don't know if it's related to that. And then last night we had another sub-hunter patrolling the border of Texas and Mexico. So the Trump administration is using sub-hunters to patrol the border, which I think is great. Big thumbs up to the Trump administration for that. They're handling the border the best way possible. And then we had some reconnaissance off the coast of Libya. And then we had some Russian doomsday planes that were airborne last night, probably related to the talks in Saudi Arabia. And then we had more reconnaissance here in the Baltics and in Poland last night. So guys, things are escalating. Get prepared. It looks like Europe is on the verge of war with Russia. No matter what Trump will do with Russia, they're going to go their own way, and they're going to fund Ukraine with $1 trillion worth of military equipment, and they're going to be building up their own military. So it looks like there's going to be a war in Europe very soon. And Trump said that he's going to be removing a lot of the Department of Justice employees. He posted this on Truth Social. So that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news, and I'll be in the live stream tonight monitoring the ICBM test. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.